it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We can still win the Big Ten West. But me,
Billy Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to an episode of Backyard Banter. Johnny, James, Tanner. It is that time of the year, fellas. I mean, the weather's a little bit warmer, at least here in Utah. It's 60 degrees. It is sunny. I know I was talking with Tanner back in Illinois. It is sunny. Spring is here, and you know what starts with spring? March Madness, baby. I mean, it is just electric. This is the time of the year that we especially thrive for. And we're not going to waste any time because you know what week this is? It's Conference Tournament Week. Conference Tournament Week is one of the greatest weeks of the year. And we're going to predict every major, I'm going to say that again, every major conference tournament bracket. So Texas A&M Corpus Christi's conference will not be on here.
That's okay. That's all right.
But we will start with maybe the best conference ever on KenPom, even though me and Tanner has some thoughts on that maybe we can get into. We're going to start with the SEC. Can you guys see this good?
Yep.
All right, so this is a bracket for the SEC. SEC and Big Ten have the ones where the championships are on Sunday. So the first round will start Wednesday, and I believe the SEC is the only team, the conference also that expanded that everyone made the tournament. So like South Carolina, who had like 2 conference wins, is in there. But I mean, Tanner, we'll go to you first. This is how we're going to do. We're going to say who's going to win and who's a sleeper team that could make a run. So we'll go to Tanner first.
Yeah, as far as my winner here, I'm gonna go with Alabama. I think that Alabama in a tournament setting is, as you guys know, really tough to prepare for in a short amount of time. And I think with Bama, I like their path because Kentucky is a team that's going to try to play at their pace, and they're not good enough to beat Bama in a full court, quick pace game. I like how Bama, I know they just lost to Florida at home, but I think that's a big revenge spot for Bama. And I think for Florida, it's going to be tough to beat Bama again in like a 2-week span. And then I don't have Auburn getting to the championship. I think they're going to lose to Tennessee. And I think, again, Bama is going to get a little bit of revenge against Tennessee. So I have Alabama winning this tournament. As in terms of my sleeper, I'm going to go with a team who is pretty desperate here to make the tournament and needs a couple wins. I'm going to go with Arkansas. I think Coach Cal and the boys know that they have to win probably at least 2 games in this tournament to feel safe on Selection Sunday. I don't know if I like them beating Auburn, but I definitely like them to beat Carolina and Ole Miss. So I'm going to go with Arkansas. I think they can make a run into Friday and maybe even Saturday. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, when I filled this bracket out, it's also really hard. Like, it's hard not to have your top 4 teams in the Final Four. Like, it really is. But when you get to these big conferences like this, a deep conference, right? I mean, it's pretty crazy how the SEC, shook out this year. I have Auburn beating Florida. That's my official bracket. But I think a team that I have been high on all year is Mizzou. I'm kind of hoping we get that Mizzou-Florida matchup. I think that's going to be a great game. I really do. I think Mizzou has the ability to win this conference. Like I completely do. I don't know if it's because I subscribed to their YouTube page and they give documentaries or whatever, and they kind of walk through game days, and it fires me up. Like, that's how I liked Ole Miss baseball back in the day when I was growing up. They did recaps of weekends. So I love Mizzou. I love that game. Hopefully we get that game. But yeah, I'm high on the 2 teams. I'm high on Auburn. I'm high on Florida. I have a weird thing when teams kind of lose maybe the week before a conference tournament. Sometimes I think that could be a good thing. And that could be crazy, but like Auburn, they were riding high. You lose a tough game at the buzzer. Jani Broome went for 35. Like, he's unbelievable, unconscious at times. But I do have Auburn beating Florida, but I will be very interested to see, like, for example, how that Ole Miss Auburn game could go if that's the matchup. Because I know Ole Miss is another one of those teams that you could have circled as sleeper, and who knows, maybe Johnny's going to do that. But like, I'm not big on the Tennessee A&M side of that bracket. Again, I think that's just because I'm not believing in that yet. So yeah, I like Auburn, Florida, but again, who knows? This is a crazy conference that can go anywhere.
Yeah, and now with the 5 or the 4 games on day one, I mean, it really kind of limits the sleepers because if you're Arkansas, I mean, it is a huge ask to win 5 games in 5 days.
Hmm.
Same with a Georgia, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, whatever you want to say. Um, I was thinking like a lot about this because the SEC is so not random, but like if you could realistically see like 7 teams winning this conference,
Yeah.
and the only reason why I'm not picking Alabama is because Florida matches up insanely well with Alabama. Like Florida has played Alabama 4 times the last 2 years. They've beat them 3 times, and they've scored almost 100 points every single time. And the one time that they lost to them was at Alabama last year. They had a 10-point lead at the under 8 timeout, and they lost in overtime. So, big revenge game for Florida if Missouri does beat Mississippi State and or LSU. Missouri is the only one that beat Florida at home this year. But James, I mean, I'm going to copy your final. I'm going to put Auburn over Florida in the title game. That would be a rematch of last year's title game.
Yep.
Auburn's too good, and I have major questions about them winning the national championship now, and I've had questions about them honestly for a long time. But they're so deep, they're so big, they're so physical. I mean, they do a little bit of everything really well. And as a Florida fan, and I've really started to notice this, I keep waiting for their lull to hit. Right? We all thought it was Missouri, and then Missouri's a top 30 team. I know they've been really bad the last 3 or 4 games, but I don't think it's crazy to say. Like I think Florida's the most complete team in the country right now, the way that they're playing.
Yeah.
But so that I would agree with James. I would put Auburn over Florida. I could also see Tennessee like randomly beating Auburn if Auburn goes cold. And Auburn again has those lulls within a game where they have 6 minutes where they're just playing really bad and their body language is just atrocious when this happens. Like Chad Baker-Mazara, I said this earlier on the podcast. He's my least favorite player to watch in college basketball. Like his antics, I mean, just infuriates me. James, you took my sleeper because Missouri was a sleeper. I'll give you 2. So I do think Ole Miss is a sleeper. They're so like everyone that plays and plays significantly is an upperclassman. They're so old. They never turn the ball over. I don't know if you guys have been looking at their turnover margin. I mean, it's like the best in the SEC. They never turn the ball over. They don't beat themselves. They're just not ultra talented, to make a super deep run in the NCAA tournament. But I could see them upsetting Auburn, for example. I don't think it'll happen, but if it happened, I want to be like, oh my goodness. And one from the first day, I'll give you one is Georgia. Georgia's been playing really good ball lately. They upset Florida. They've won 4 in a row to kind of solidify themselves in the NCAA tournament. But Asa Newell, one of the best freshmen in the country, not only in this conference with Trey Johnson, but they got Sean Demery, who's their point guard, who is a bucket getter. He's a really good coach. The only reason why I don't think that they'll go far is because Mike White, when he was at Florida, never, ever won a game in the SEC tournament, except that one time where they hit the game winner against LSU when Andrew Nemhard hit it. But just would never win a game in the SEC tournament. But those are 2 sleepers. So I have Auburn over Florida. But again, if Alabama could make the final, Kentucky could get hot and make the final. Like Missouri could make the final. A&M can make the final. So A&M always plays really well in the SEC tournament. By the way, they always play really well. So yeah, that's kind of mine. But we'll go over to
what an awesome tournament to go to though.
Yeah, in Nashville.
I mean, hey, sorry, I'm gonna take a week off. I'm gonna go watch the SEC tournament in Nashville. Okay, sounds good. Like take all my money. Take all of it.
Just electric. So we're gonna go to the Big 12 now. Big 12. The Big 12 is really interesting because I keep waiting for Houston to lose.
Yeah.
And they just don't.
Not going to happen.
But anyway, Tanner, you go ahead.
In the Big 12, I believe when I was filling this out, I picked Iowa State to win this tournament. I mean, in prior years, Iowa State has made some pretty deep runs in this tournament. And I think the last time they won this tournament, they were also a 5 seed. But this Iowa State team is very, very good. They defend. They've had a couple tough losses in the month of February. They weren't really healthy when they played Houston. The one time they played Houston, they weren't healthy. So I kind of like them. They get this. They've already seen Houston at full strength, but Houston hasn't seen them at full strength. I think a little bit of that. I kind of like Iowa State to beat Houston if it does come to that in the semifinal. In terms of a sleeper here, honestly, like I kind of have 2. I think it's whoever wins the K-State Baylor game, assuming K-State gets past Arizona State. Baylor has so much talent. VJ Edgecombe is obviously he's a top 10 draft pick. Scott Drew knows how to coach too. Like Baylor has a lot of talent. They weren't really healthy for a good portion of the year, but they have some interesting wins. They've beat some people and they've lost to some people. So they're one of those teams that can beat anyone but lose to anyone. Same with Kansas State. Kansas State has a lot of talent. Obviously, James, you know about Coleman Hawkins.
He still stinks.
They also have Doug McDaniel, and Jerome Tang has shown an ability to coach in March before. So K State is interesting because I don't know if you pay attention to Torvik very much. It's like an analytical thing in college basketball. K State had a period of the season where they were like the worst Power Five or Power Four team in the country, and then they had a 3 week stretch where they were literally the best team in the country for that
Yeah,
3
it's
weeks.
unbelievable.
So just seeing how hot they can get in a short amount of time, that I think K State is a sleeper. But I guess officially, I think it's Baylor or K State, whoever wins that. Tough draw for them too, because Texas Tech is really really good. But the Big 12, honestly, like I think outside of Houston and Iowa State, I'm not very fond of the Big 12 entering March. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but
Yeah, to an extent.
Yeah, I only think there's really three teams in this that can make a run, and it is Houston, Iowa State, and Texas Tech. I'm really high on Texas Tech. I mean, I really am. For me, I'm going to go Houston. I've been on Houston all year. I think they're going to win the national championship. I kind of, when I say something, I'm just going to let it ride until I'm proven wrong. I was watching that game against Baylor Saturday night, and yeah, I'm like, oh, Houston's going to drop one to Baylor. Nope,
Yeah.
never
They don't
mind.
lose on the road. It's
Nope,
incredible.
never mind, because half their team is collecting Social Security. I mean, LJ Cryer is going to leave college basketball and go into a nursing home because he's 65 years old. Like, these guys are just so experienced. And I think year after year, I keep picking Houston's going to win the Natty. Houston's going to win the Natty. And it's like this year, it's like, yeah, no, I really think Houston's going to win the national championship. I like their draw. I mean, obviously, as the number one seed, you should like your draw, but in terms of the teams that are going to be filtering in, not worried about them at all. My sleeper, I'm not going to take anybody from the first day, so maybe it's not really a true sleeper, but I love Kansas's draw. I really do. As a guy who doesn't like Kansas, I don't like Hunter Dickinson. I like their draw. I mean, I'm not too fond on Arizona. I think they are a good team, but I think Kansas, Arizona, to have an opportunity to play in the Final Four of the Big 12 championship, I think Kansas has to take that. So I like Kansas's draw. So I could see them playing Texas Tech to get to the championship. Actually, I think I have that in my bracket that I filled out. So I would say sleeper wise, I'm going to go Kansas just because of their draw. I like it the best. So
Yeah, so Houston is just so due to lose.
yeah,
I just, and you want to talk about old guys. Roberts, their center, like he's going to graduate and then apply to be a doctor if he wants to.
Yeah.
That's how long he's been in college. But again, I mean, these guys, and Coach Sampson, I think might be the best coach in the country. His culture, and you see when he, embraces these guys on senior day, just like the raw emotion that they all have. I mean, there's not a team in college, and you guys know I love teams that guard, man.
Yeah.
Houston freaking guards.
They can score this year.
And that's what I'm saying. LJ Cryer all of a sudden is shooting the ball so efficiently.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they just still don't have that one guy where it's like, man, you're in the Elite Eight. You're playing against Alabama. God, you need a bucket with 35 seconds left.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But I love Houston. I love their program. I saw BYU play in person. They're really impressive. BYU is really impressive. They are deep. They have size. Saunders, their wing, is one of the better players in the Big 12. Like, he should be first team all Big 12 when it comes out. Or I think it did come out. I got to look to see if he was. But if he wasn't, that is a travesty. So BYU's not a sleeper, but no one ever talks about them. Like they're forcing. No one ever talks about that. Like, I saw them play in person. They're really good. They're legit like 9 deep.
Who did you watch them play?
I went to their game against West Virginia last Saturday. Shout out Rich Hollenberg, friend of the show. He called that game. So
Cool.
Also an insane atmosphere. I gotta send you guys the pictures. In their arena, they seat like 20,000 people, and their student section is a wall. It's like the Clippers wall where there's like 10,000 students. It is insane. It was one of the best atmospheres I've ever been in. And a lot of people say sold out, and like the Jazz do this all the time. Sorry, Jazz, where they say sold out and there's pockets of seats everywhere. there was not an open seat at the Marriott Center in Provo, and
Yeah.
it was awesome, great atmosphere. But my pick, it's really tough, James. I agree with you. I think Kansas is going to make a run. I think Kansas might even make the final. Like I think this final is going to be Iowa State versus Kansas, and Kansas is they can turn on whenever. Kansas is an 8 and Florida's a 1. Kansas is a 1 team. Them and Gonzaga, I don't want them to play. Kansas is still, if they ever figure it out, they're so talented.
Yeah.
But I'm going to agree with, I think Tanner. I think Iowa State's going to win it. They won it last year. Might go against my pick a little bit. So I think it's either going to be Iowa State or Texas Tech to win it. But Houston is just so due to lose before the NCAA tournament. And who knows? Maybe they'll just keep on winning. I don't. I think the first day is going to be uncompetitive. Besides Kansas State going on forward, West Virginia, I saw them again in person. They just, it's a heck of a coaching job by Coach DeVry. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. Who came over from Drake?
Mm-hmm.
He's that team. They have one guy, Small. That is it. I mean, the rest of their team is pretty awful. So the fact
I'll tell you what, shout out to Drake. Drake gets the best coaches, man, in the country. Like the guy there, McCollum or whatever, is like the greatest D2 coach of all.
The D2, yeah.
And I tell you what, he's not going to be a Drake probably next year. Like
if I'm NC State, I would look at as long as
he's going to get a bigger job. Than he might go to Indiana. I mean, or Iowa, or he's going to get big. I think he's going to get a Big Ten job. But anyway,
so I don't know. So since Tanner picked Iowa State, I'll be different and I'll pick Texas Tech. But again, I could see Texas Tech losing to Baylor in the second round. Like I've seen VJ Edgecombe play a few times this year. His improvements that he's made from the first 10 games to the last 20 is immense. Just a freak athlete. But look out for Kansas, look out for Baylor, and obviously look out in this top bracket up here. Like I think either of these two teams up here could beat Houston to go to the championship.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is the Big 12. As I'm going to pull up the ACC.
He's like an electric, actually picking good conferences. I'm tired of filling out the MAAC, and I'm like, oh, God, like this.
Hey, I will have no disrespect for the AA MAC.
Yeah, the AA MAC, yeah. NIU's leaving the MAC, by the way, so I'm gonna have no affiliation with the MAC. They're going to a glorified D2 now. So
I saw that.
Welcome to the horizon, NIU. Good job.
So this is honestly the most aesthetically pleasing bracket that we've had.
So it's pretty, yeah.
But anyway, the ACC has been such a dud this year. And I think as a Florida fan that is fighting and clawing for that last 1 seed, Duke is really good. Don't get me wrong. But if they had any other logo on their resume, they wouldn't be a 1 seed. I mean, it's just –
I don't know, man.
Look, they're really good. I get it. But they haven't played a ranked team in 2025.
Yeah.
It's just –
I don't know if you sent it to us or maybe it was – somebody else, but 13 SEC teams have more ranked wins than Duke.
Exactly. It's just not comparable. So
look, that doesn't even make sense.
I understand that. Look, Duke has been dominant. Like they're not just winning; they're dominating these games that they're winning. But I'm telling you, I mean, if you put a Texas Tech logo on that instead and show a blank resume, I don't think they would be a 1. If you just look at their resume, if you say, "Oh, they're 6-2," I don't know exactly what they are in quad 1 and 2. They're 6-2 in quad 1. You know, but anyway, that's just me. They're still really good. I might even pick Duke to win the national championship, honestly. Yeah. But I just wanted to say that because Florida, I mean, it's just grinding to get that last 1, and I'm a little bitter about it because they have 2 of the 3 best wins in the entire country. But Tanner, go ahead.
As far as my champion, I'd be a little bit stupid to not pick Duke. I think honestly they could sleepwalk to the championship. And I think if they get there and it's Clemson, that would be a pretty interesting game to watch just because that's really their only loss they've had in the ACC. So I think that's a big revenge spot for the Blue Devils. I mean, they're the best team in the country to me. They're going to be my national championship pick. They have everything you need. They have the superstar, first overall pick in Cooper Flagg. They have 2 more scores, like 2 more guys who can go get a bucket if you need it. Conkinipple and Tyrese Proctor. I'm not sure, is Proctor back yet?
Yeah, he's back. He put against North Carolina.
So he's back. And then they have a great center, Maluwak, that can protect the rim. And they just have role players everywhere that just play their role correctly next to those guys. So best team in the country. They're winning the national championship. And like I said, they can sleepwalk in this tournament and still win it. As far as a sleeper, I don't like anybody for a sleeper. I truthfully don't.
I mean, look at 7 down in this conference. It is so disgusting.
It's
gross.
Bad. It's really bad. If I had to pick one, though, I would go with Notre Dame. I can't remember their guard's name, but their point guard is like averaging like 20 some a game.
Yeah.
So they have a bucket getter. They have a good offensive head coach. They're really young. They're talented and they're young. So like it's Micah Shrewsbury is going to turn around in Notre Dame. I think next year is kind of going to be the year where they're back in the tournament, NCAA tournament. But I could see some of these young guys, the talent that they have, going on a little bit of a run. I love this path for them because Pitt is a team they've handled in the regular season. Carolina, they match up really well with. And I don't think Hubert Davis can coach, anyways. And then Wake Forest, again, another team that Notre Dame could beat. So Notre Dame, I guess, is my pick to make a run, but they're not going to win this tournament.
Yeah, it's like it sucks, right? Because we want to like maybe see a game where Duke loses, and I have Duke beating Clemson. I wanted to see that rematch, so that's kind of how I set my bracket up. With this kind of bracket, actually, I just do my two teams first, and then I slide them all the way to the championship, and I fill in the rest because I don't really care. I mean, like, yeah, Notre Dame Pitt, that's exhilarating, right? Like Virginia Tech Cal. Wow, I'm gonna turn that 4:30 tomorrow. Okay, I'll make sure I'm busy at that time. Like, it's just one of those things. So I have Duke beating Clemson. That's how my bracket shakes out. In terms of sleepers, I like Florida State.
Yep.
I hate that they have to run into Clemson because I do think Clemson's better than Louisville. But I was between Florida State and Stanford, two teams that are kind of playing good ball right now. But I would say Florida State, in terms of true sleepers playing on the first day, it's got to be them. I like the matchup against Syracuse. They stink. SMU stinks. So yeah, I mean, I do think we're going to get a Florida State Clemson matchup. I do think Clemson wins that game. But if Florida State gets hot, like I wouldn't be too surprised. So I'm going Duke winning the ACC, solidifying that one seed, and then yeah, Florida State maybe making a run in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you must be on Mama Shield's payroll.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah,
I agree with you. That was always going to be a take. I mean, Leonard Hamilton, this is his last ride before he retires, heck of a coach.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be different. I won't pick Duke, even though I think they could sleepwalk there if they wanted to. And it was me saying they shouldn't be a one seed has no indictment on them. Like I think Duke could very well win the national championship. If you'd ask me right now, I'd probably pick Duke to win the national championship. It's just I don't think it's fair to grade Alabama and Florida like comparatively to Duke because the schedules are just so different. And Tanner, to your point, I mean, Duke has really struggled in late game situations. I mean, every time they've had a late game situation, you look at Kansas, or no, it wasn't Kansas, it was Kentucky in the Champions Classic. You look at Clemson when they went to at Clemson. Those are the only two games where it's really been close, and they've struggled. And the young teams, when it's close, they kind of need those reps to build that up. So I'll even go even crazier. I think North Carolina is going to lose to Wake Forest, and Wake Forest is going to beat Duke. Hunter Salas is going to drop 40. And I think I also have Florida State meeting Clemson with you, James. Watch out for Stanford too. Their center averages like 21 and 12. Yeah. No one talks about him, but he's really good. But a name you guys know, Chucky Halpern, man, with Louisville. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable what he's doing.
He's tough.
Yeah, I have Louisville beating Clemson, so the two top teams even though Louisville seated higher, and I have Louisville beating Wake Forest in the championship. Again, just want to be kind of different from you guys. I would never put actual money on this for this to happen. But Clemson, I think Clemson is Elite Eight good this year again, like they were last year. But again, sometimes these teams, it's hard when it just goes chalk the way you think. And the ACC is probably the most likely conference to go chalk, obviously. But yeah, I'll try to be a little bit different here.
Hey, I like Wake Forest. They got great jerseys, great color. I mean, I would love watching the Duke Blue Devils fall, but I mean, is it going to happen? I don't know. So.
And then we got two more, but the one you guys care about is the Big Ten.
This one's exciting.
I was looking at this bracket, really interesting. Not the way that you would go or you would think it would turn out. Maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So again, another very aesthetically pleasing bracket. I did not realize UCLA was the 4, except for the fact that they changed their logo from the pinwheel into whatever this travesty is up here.
Yeah, what is that?
That's the new logo. They got rid of the pinwheel.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So I'll go first quick so you guys have a lot more time to talk about it. I actually really like Purdue's draw here, Tanner, to get Michigan and then get into the semis. I also like Illinois' draw, James. Like I think Illinois and Purdue are going to play each other in the semis,
I do too.
and uh, so I think that these three right here. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor going over them.
We can.
Uh, Wisconsin, Illinois, Purdue are all better than Michigan, Maryland, UCLA. So I have all three of them advancing. Michigan State versus Wisconsin. I'll take Wisconsin. I'm super. I thought I had to sneeze. Just it's hard to keep going chalk. Michigan State's been so hot lately, and I'm still just not a believer in them. I will say that until they win the national championship. So I'll take. So I think it's going to eventually be Wisconsin and Purdue in the final, and I don't know that's a toss up. I would lean Purdue because anytime you have two of the three best players on the court, I kind of like your odds. So yeah, I guess give me Purdue over Wisconsin in the championship game.
Can I go before you go, Tanner, please? Because it's going to hurt me to say this, but Purdue's draw is unbelievable. Like if you're a Boiler fan and you've shat down your leg the last few weeks of the season, you get a great draw. You get a great draw in the Big Ten tournament. You really do. I'm not saying that either to like hopefully hype it up so then they tear it down. Like I have Purdue making it to the championship in the Big Ten tournament. Like I do because I look at Illinois, who I do think they're going to play. I do have Illinois and Purdue meeting. After the emotion after of that last game, the place of where this championship's being played, it's like, yeah, Purdue's going to beat Illinois, yada yada yada. They're going to go to the Big Ten tournament. Now, at the same time, I think the Big Ten's so overrated that I don't know what's going to happen. Like I really don't. Like I'm just not big on any of the. Like Johnny said, the first four teams, I'm not high on any of them. Michigan State, they're playing good ball. I think they've won 7 or 8 in a row. Michigan, I'm sorry, like they're stinky. Like they're
You see
stinky.
that they have a negative point differential despite going, what were they, 14
Yeah.
and 6 in conference?
Yeah, they are stinky, and I think Maryland's a good team at home. I think they're a tough team to beat. UCLA, we'll see. I think this is something that I think is interesting with all these new conference realignment things. You don't really have to worry about maybe UCLA coming all the way over here for a 1 game, 2 day stretch. Now they're going to be here for a week or whatever. Like they're going to be acclimated. They're going to be ready. We'll see. I do have UCLA. Actually, I have Purdue beating UCLA in the championship. There we go. You got it out of me. So we'll see. My sleeper, Ohio State. Unfortunately, Ohio State's going to have to play Illinois. But I think Ohio State has it in them. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because we've been learning a lot about Ohio State basketball in this podcast or what, but I like Ohio State's path. I don't love that they run into Illinois, truthfully. But yeah, we'll see. The only team on the left side, the first day of this tournament, that I think has no chance at making a run is Iowa. I don't know. I think Minnesota is going to beat Northwestern. The Big Ten's just so weird this year, and so it irks me. It literally irks me to pick Purdue to win the Big Ten tournament. But I love their draw. I think they're well coached. I think they got the experienced guard play. Who would have thought Trey Kaufman-Rent was going to be as good as he is this year? Tanner was lighting my phone up Saturday night about how they're going to be number one preseason next year. Like, I mean, I think I got 65 text messages from Teaster Saturday night about the Boilers. So I do like your path, Tanner. I'll be interested to see what you think of your path. But yeah, I got Purdue beating UCLA, and watch out for Ohio State.
So I just want to put this out there. I'm not really excited for this tournament. This is the first time in 11 seasons Purdue has not had a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. I was 11 years old the last time they had to play on a Thursday in this tournament. Excuse me. So not really excited in that regard. I do love their draw. Like Michigan, we should have beat them at their place. Beat them by 40 at Mackey. Maryland, only played them once. Played them in December. Beat them at Mackey. I think if Maryland comes out of that, I think Maryland beats Purdue in the semis. I don't think Purdue can beat Maryland again. Maryland's better than Purdue right now. I like Michigan State to win this tournament. I think Michigan State's going to win it. I think my sleeper is going to end up being Minnesota, because Minnesota is playing really good ball the last month. Ben Johnson, I know it's not the Ben Johnson coaching the Bears, but Ben Johnson is a good head coach in Minnesota. He just really hasn't gotten the recruits in yet. He still is, I think, year 2 or 3 there. But he has shown an ability over the last 2 seasons that by the time February hits, he has his team playing the best basketball they've played all season. I know it's not, an elite level basketball that they're playing there, but this is the best they've played all season. They just played Wisconsin tough for 35 minutes last week, and I think they're going to beat Northwestern and they're going to get Wisconsin. So I really like the Golden Gophers in terms of a potential sleeper here. But
Yeah, I
uh,
agree.
yeah, this Purdue team, they have a good draw. I don't necessarily. I want them to probably win a game or two in this. I don't want to. I don't want to peak too early. I want Purdue to play its best ball in 2 weeks in the NCAA tournament. But this is one thing that was always kind of said about Purdue when they were winning the Big Ten. Over the last decade, especially, is that teams that are equipped to win the Big Ten regular season aren't equipped to win in March, and it's vice versa. So I really hope that's the case with this year's Purdue team because clearly they weren't equipped to win the Big Ten regular season. But I can see how Purdue's pretty tough to match up with in a tournament type setting. So I don't know. I'm really disappointed in the last month, and quite frankly, I'm not really excited for this Purdue team. I'm kind of just hoping to get put out of my misery. So
How about the Illini though? I mean, what a win! What a gritty win Friday
that
night.
was a great win, and I wish I could watch that game. I was watching it on a phone in a car
Yeah,
for most of the time.
I was too.
So,
Yeah, I was working Friday night and I was keeping track, and then I watched the last 5 minutes. I was statting a girls' high school basketball game, and I was like borderline, like I don't want to watch this basketball game anymore. Like this game was coming down to the wire, and I mean, State Farm Center looked
it did.
unbelievable. That place looked awesome. So
It did
I
look
do want to say
awesome.
I will be fading Michigan State. I don't.
yeah, I,
I will bet against them every single round of the tournament. I just refuse to believe that a team that shoots as poorly as they do. And I love Tom Izzo, and there's a reason why March is nicknamed Izzo. Like he's that good. And
yeah,
I don't think they'll lose early, but I would be very surprised if Michigan State's in the Final Four. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But I can see Maryland, by the way, even though I have them losing early here. If Maryland gets a good draw in the NCAA tournament, I can see Maryland being a sleeper team for the Final Four as well. I think that they are sneaky good. So we have one more.
This is my well before we transition to this is just one little stat here that I got to get out. Over the last I think 30 something days, Purdue is the #1 offense in the country. This is per Torvik, and they're 2-5. So I just want to put that out.
yeah. And Tanner and I have talked about this for weeks now. Like Tanner, because I do associate Tanner with Purdue, but Purdue, like they can't guard this year as high of a level that they have been. And I don't know if people are getting used to Mackey or they're just ready to, or if Purdue does have a target on the back, which they obviously do. But Purdue can't guard right now. I mean, they're scoring 85 points and losing. Like, I mean, truthfully, it's almost like another team at the Division III level.
Benedictine, I'll say it.
That's I
We don't got to skate around it.
yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
I'm trying to see which one is more aesthetically pleasing. I mean, this one is
that
whatever.
was cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it just has this big thing right here.
That's
Anyway,
all right.
Big East. The Big East is always so cool. I mean, any team that doesn't have a football conference and is strictly basketball and plays in Madison Square Garden for their tournament is just so baller. But look, the Big East is. I'm not gonna say it's down because St. John's is scary good, but their 2, 3, and 5 seeds are all going to be 7 through 10 seeds and 7 through 9 seeds in the tournament, and that's kind of very unlike Big East, very unlike this conference. But I think, look, it's only a matter of time till UConn turns it on, and I think that their draw is fairly favorable, not as favorable as St. John's, but they split with Creighton in the regular season. I think UConn will get them in the semis. And again, I mean, teams like St. John's, Michigan State, who have won so many in a row in a tournament style, I just think that they are just due for a loss in this. Yeah. Even though, God, St. John's guards, love watching them guard. They're long, they're athletic. They have the Richmond kid. They have Luis, who should be Big East Player of the Year. I think he was when they announced it today. So I'll take UConn over UConn over Marquette in the final. I think Marquette will get revenge on St. John's, even though I'll tell you what, the Garden is going to be rocking for St. John's
No
in
kidding.
the final and final. But we'll see. I have this method in my head right now that I'm just going to fade the teams that are on these crazy long win streaks in a tournament setting, and we'll see if
It might work. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think you're going to hit on some of them. I don't know about all of them, but
and for a sleeper,
I
I
agree.
guess, for a sleeper, I guess I gave it away. I'll do Marquette as a sleeper. I don't think anyone in the first day is that good. Always be on the lookout for Villanova just because they have Dixon and anyone who's that talented. I mean, we're talking about unanimous first team all Big East.
Yeah.
So even though I don't think their coach is very good, so there's my breakdown.
I'm gonna piggyback off of John because he just mentioned Villanova. That's my sleeper. Is Villanova because of Eric Dixon. Obviously, he's the leading scorer in the country, and he's a lot. He's a lot to handle, prepare for. And I kind of wanted to mention that they're my sleeper, and the game I'm most excited for in this conference tournament is going to be Villanova UConn, because every time they played this year, it's been a great game, and I think that's a game where again the Garden is going to be rocking. You're talking Thursday night at like 9:30. You're going to get Villanova versus UConn, a rivalry game. Eric Dixon and Villanova need to make a run if they want to make the NCAA tournament. UConn's looking to get hot, so I think that game is going to be awesome. It's going to be must-see TV, but in terms of my pick in this tournament, I agree with you, Johnny. I'm taking UConn to beat Marquette in the final, which is sort of something I want to happen more than maybe I think will happen. I guess St. John's has beat Marquette twice, and it's hard to beat a team 3 times. But UConn and Marquette the last 2 years in the Big East tournament when they've played has been, again, cinema, must-see TV, and I'm hoping for it again. So honestly, I just want it that bad that I'm going to pick it. I'm going to take UConn over Marquette in the final.
Yeah, I guess I'm just different, and that's the beautiful thing about a 3-man podcast is we're all different. I do have St. John's making it to the final. I do. I think Pitino's one of those coaches that I don't think he cares if it is a Monday night non-conference game against Texas Southern or whoever, Texas Corpus Christi, as you had mentioned, or if it's a Friday night in the Garden for whatever game. Like, I think Pitino's one of those guys that just coaches no matter what. And so I have St. John's going to the finals. They are going to lose, in my opinion. They're going to lose to Creighton. Last season, I was big on Creighton. And again, I don't know if I just fall in love with some teams that I pick, which it probably is. That's why I picked Houston again to win a national championship, because I figure third time's a charm. But Creighton was a team that I was big on last season and kind of came up short, right? Came up short in the NCAA tournament for me. So I think Creighton, they're kind of one of those teams in the Big East. Yes, the Big East is down, but they're kind of going under the radar. Like, I really do think Creighton's kind of overlooked a little bit because, yeah, UConn is behind them, and UConn is the story going into the season. Marquette has looked fraudulent at some points of the year, but at some points of the year, they're like, okay, yeah, this team can win this conference. Xavier, I don't see Marquette struggling with Xavier. I don't know why that 5-4 matchup doesn't scare me at all. I think Marquette's going to be perfectly fine against Xavier. So we'll see. But yeah, I got Creighton beating St. John's, and my sleeper is going to be the Friars. I don't think they're a great basketball team. But when I started really paying attention to the Big East, Providence was kind of one of those teams that just struck my eyes because I still don't know what a Friar is. So we're just going to pick them.
Catholic thing, James.
Well, I'm sorry. I've been in Catholic school my whole life, and I still don't know what a Friar is.
It's Mama Shields can correct us, but
yeah, Mama Shields, let me know.
It's like a version of a monk.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, no.
Providence is a Catholic school.
Well, I knew that, but I mean, like, I was the St. Mary's Lancers, like that. I didn't think that in relation. So I'm going Providence as my sleeper, but I really don't think anyone on that left side the first day is gonna really make a run against any of these other teams.
I will say Xavier has won like 7 in a row as they're trying to make the tournament. And how about this matchup, DePaul Georgetown? And talk about DePaul, who has been like last for so long, and the fact that they're not last,
gritty.
Baby golf claps for DePaul.
Yeah, we should.
We'll give it to them. So, yeah, that's our entire conference championship breakdown. Next time we talk to you, we'll most likely be filling out a bracket, which is crazy. And
Election Sunday, man.
Yeah, we'll kind of give you guys, pretenders and contenders in that. I think me and Tanner talked about it. the SEC might get 13 teams in, but I only think they'll get like 4 to the second weekend, for example. Just to kind of see there. But anything else from you guys?
No, no, not at all. I mean, it's pretty electric. We've already seen some really good low major, mid major finals. We already have some tickets punched.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty exciting. This is a great time. And I was actually talking to Kyra about this, and I'm like, this is the greatest time of the year. And she's like, you said that in the fall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's just different.
We got October, we have now.
It's a different greatest time of the year. Like, you got to understand. She's like, well, is there ever a bad time of the year? I'm like, well, honestly, the summer is kind of slow. Like, there's just baseball. After the NBA finals and the NHL finals are over, it's just baseball. She's like, but you love the Cubs. I'm like, you got to understand sports is 365. Come on. That's why we have a podcast. So
I would just like to say that if anybody is texting me or calling me in the next 2 to 3 weeks and I don't respond and it's after 11 a.m., it's probably because I'm watching basketball. So just know that this is my Super Bowl. My Super Bowl is not one day. It's not 5 hours.
A month.
It's a month.
It's a month. And my Super Bowl, it tipped off. Super Bowl, it kicked off last week, and we have 3 more weeks. So, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, that's big time stuff there, James. You said you won't be watching Notre Dame, whatever. I will be. It's like 10.
No, I probably will be. I probably will be actually.
Anyway, we'll cut it there. If you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, comment, send it to someone. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.